should be willing to learn something new every day, and I hope you manage to learn something from our show. Maybe it's a new way of looking at an issue, or maybe you laugh and you learn at the same time. That's our ultimate goal. But we want you to learn, and we partner with great groups that assist in the learning process, and we care about our country's future. We care about our job base, our manufacturing base. We're going to talk in a moment to a man who will not listen to the critics who say, you can't do this in the United States. And, well, he is. Still manufacturing bicycles here when so many people said he couldn't do it. We're going to talk to him in a moment. But learning about your country's foundational documents, knowing the Constitution, well, guess what? You might not have a lot of money. You might feel like you're beyond the point where you can learn about the Constitution. No, that's not true. Take it from me. You can watch at your own pace, take it in, a new free online Constitution course from Hillsdale College. It's being offered now, 10 weeks of lectures. Watch it at your leisure. There are sessions that were released every week, but once they're out, you can watch them when you want and at your own pace. You can sign up free. Now, I want you to remember this. LauraForHillsdale.com. LauraForHillsdale.com. It's a free course, explains the meaning and history of the Constitution, what it means for you. And you sign up now, LauraForHillsdale.com. Get yourself educated, and you'll have a big smile on your face because you'll realize, wow, you know what, sadly, most Americans don't know today. All right, we're going to get to Wayne Sosin in just one moment because he has a great story to tell about Worksman Cycles. You might not have heard of the company, but you will in just a moment. Let's go to Let's go to Brian in Tampa, Florida, line 7, because you're talking about this immigration question, which raises, you're getting all riled up, though, Brian. Jeb Bush said, don't get riled up. It's all good. These people are coming here. They love their families, and they just want to provide for them. Go ahead.
Oh, it takes a lot to get me riled up. I was just going to point out the fact that if I decided to knock over a convenience store, bank, or car or whatever, and then went to the judge, Your Honor, it was a labor of love. I'm trying to provide for my family. What is the difference?
Well, what Jeb Bush would say is that this is entering our country illegally is not itself a felony. It's a violation of our immigration law. It is a violation of law, but it's just not a felony. So I guess he'd say that the labor of love argument for felonies wouldn't be as convincing. I imagine he would say that, but I get your point, right? But you can't pick and choose what laws you respect and say, well, it's because they're coming here because they love their family. Well, that might be the case. I'm not saying that's not the case for a lot of the people who come here. I'm sure it is. But we still do have a country, last time I checked. We have borders, we have laws, and if we're going to dispose of all of that, then we should have a real national conversation about how that's going to impact African Americans, Latino Americans living here legally, white Americans, people from all walks of life. The rich people aren't really affected by any of this, but the middle class, they're affected big time. So at least have a conversation about, well, how is this affecting your life? How are your public schools doing? Does it hurt your kid when we have 12 different languages taught at your school? How is it affecting your wages? Have your wages gone up in Columbus, Ohio over the last 12 years? If not, why not? Are there people being brought into the country who are undercutting your wages? They might be wonderful people who love their families. Let's put that on the table as yes, that might be the case. We will submit that that could be possible. Doesn't mean that it's good for the American people to have this continue. Two separate questions. So I think what happens in politics is people conflate two separate issues to try to convince you of the veracity of their point of view. But I think in the end, it's either good for America or bad for America, and we have to have that conversation. All right, we will continue to take your calls, 855-40-LAURA, the labor of love. I'll tell you what is a labor of love, is keeping a manufacturing plant going in the United States when so many of your competitors or people in the general industry that you're in have already offshored, moved overseas, where they can make cheaper things, in this case bicycles, and import them back into the United States, bring them back into the country, and sell them for less money. So how in this environment of outsourcing and offshoring can you make it? We've been examining this issue with a variety of people, including the CEO of WeatherTech last week. We talked to him. We've been talking to CEOs and getting their opinions on how we can really rejuvenate the American workforce. And I saw a great piece about Wayne Sosin. You might not have heard of Wayne, but interesting piece about what Worksman Industrial Cycles has represented, believe it or not, to New York City, and how you possibly can keep a business going that's been around now for more than 100 years and making bicycles when so many are now either made in Korea or made in China. How do you do this? And Wayne Sosin joins us now. Wayne, how are you? Great to talk to you, sir.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks for having us on.
So the oldest manufacturer of bicycles left in the United States, is that right?
That is true. The bicycle industry used to be a thriving industry in the United States, and companies like Schwinn and Huffy and Murray, real big players in the market, were all serving a market of companies looking for low-end product. So we were making in this country 12 million bikes a year being sold to companies like Sears and Penny's and Walmart. And when the price pressures became tremendous from these big retailers, these companies decided to either move overseas or shutter. And at the same time, here we were, and we're a specialty manufacturer. Our main market is industrial-grade tricycles, which I'll explain in a moment. Mm-hmm. But we made a conscious decision to stay here. And at the time that we did this, we were ridiculed, all the comments that were being made, Worksman Cycles is never going to make it in this environment. They're making a mistake. And we felt differently. We felt that there was still a customer who would care that our products are made in America. Mm-hmm. And the biggest challenges we faced were when all the big players went overseas, so did the suppliers that supplied them. So that was our biggest challenge. But we believed in the American workforce. We believed we had done a very good job in motivating our employees to do a good job, and there was no reason to abandon these people.
And you're a 35-year veteran of this company. Having worked there, devoted much of your professional life to this, you're married, you have kids, and you've seen the impact. Now, this is 60 workers at the company, but the ripple effect into the community. And you're in Queens. I know Queens well. The ripple effect into the community when you have a job you go to every day and you're making something, you can't even describe that. The feeling of it. It's a great feeling. It's a neighborhood feeling, too. That is truly a community.
I agree. People who are manufacturing a product, a branded product, take a stake in it. When they travel, wherever they travel, and they see a product that they had their hand in making, they take great pride in that. And I'm not knocking anybody who does any job. You should take pride in any job you do, but it's particularly important when you're making something that's got a brand name on it, and you're part of that brand. So, yes, it's a great source of pride. I do think these people like coming to work. They like creating things with their hands. They like to have a stake in the company, that the success of the company. So we looked at that, and we looked at all the people, and most of the people who work for us live close by to our factory. And there are so few opportunities for these people to have the kind of jobs they need. A lot of these people are first-generation immigrants. Mm-hmm. And as a result, they need a place where they can get started and build a career or get started and move on. But there's so few opportunities here. There's virtually no manufacturing base here whatsoever any longer.
And it's so important when you think about the American dream and climbing up the ladder, making a difference for your family. That manufacturing base has always been instrumental to that. I mean, it just has been. And this is across the country. My own family, my great-grandfather started a tannery outside of Boston, great-great-grandfather, and he had 14 children, and he supported his family, grew a company, ultimately, fell on hard times, et cetera, during the Depression. But, I mean, this was a great conversation, the great experience of immigrants from across, the spectrum for years and years and years. So I'm concerned, we've been talking about this illegal immigration issue, but we bring all these people in saying, oh, come here, but then we don't have job opportunities to come here. We don't have the jobs.
Laura, jobs are critical on every level. It should be so obvious to everybody that not everybody can be a doctor or a lawyer or a stockbroker.
Thank you.
Some people need and are greatly rewarded both emotionally and financially by building things, and we need to build things in this country. I'll give you a good example. what we manufacture, and it's an interesting market, we make bicycles for consumers, but we also make, and our best line of products in terms of what we're known for is industrial-grade tricycles. Now, what are those? Those are three-wheel cycles that workers in big factories use to get from here to there. So the bigger the factory, the more they need them. So our customer base is the who's who of American manufacturing. And I must tell you that the bigger challenge for us wasn't to stay in the United States, it's to make sure we still had customers. So every time Ford or Chrysler shuttered a plant,
right,
we lost a customer. And you talk about the ripple effect. So here we are, Worksman Cycles is making their tricycles. Well, think of all the companies making their pallet jacks and shelving and offering them steel tubing, whatever. The ripple effect is just unbelievable. So when these factories close, it's more than just the workers at that factory that are affected. It's the entire community. It's their family. And most of these people, if you really look around the country and you read depressing stories, it's about somebody who had a good-paying factory job, lost his job, and he's been unemployed for 3 years. They go into a depression. It's very difficult. They get underemployed. They're not doing something they enjoy to do. So as business owners, I think we take on a lot of that responsibility. We could do a lot of good things as a business owner beyond just making money and selling bicycles. It's more about creating a better life for your employees. We're very environmentally involved, so our factory, even though it's an old building in New York City, it's solar powered. People told me we could never accomplish that. We did. So there's a lot of good things a business owner can do, but jobs are really at the core of all of this.
And I had the chance. It's so odd that you came on today because I had the chance to meet just very briefly a few individuals who I think their businesses they're from Hong Kong. They have factories in China. They make a lot of the toys. I think they're the largest toy manufacturer now in the world, this particular company. And they're in Beijing. Now, these are very nice people, just shook hands, said hi. But I thought to myself, I couldn't help thinking, oh, remember when we made toys? I remember buying, my mother buying the first Easy Bake Oven. That was a big deal. It's just a little battery-powered thing with a light. But all that was made in the United States, all of it. Places like Michigan and Wisconsin and Minnesota and Ohio, of course, and Indiana. And look, I don't blame China. China has a lot of people they have to employ, right? So that's what China does. But we have to think more clearly about trade, our trade relationships, and just this idea that, it's about free trade. Well, what does that mean? China doesn't open their markets to our products as we open them to China's. That's just that reciprocity is not there, and we apparently are okay with it.
Absolutely. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy. But it's funny you should mention, you remember the Easy Bake Oven. Well, we used to sell our tricycles to the Mattel factory. When it was in the United States.
So all of it made in
China.
All
made in China right now. And like you said, it's not that the people, the business people over there are bad, and we have to partner with a lot of them. Let's face it. In order for us to make our tricycles and bicycles, we need components that come from overseas.
You can't get here anymore. That's depressing.
You can't even get a bicycle tire here anymore. How ridiculous is that?
Oh, no.
So, so it's all, in the case of what you're saying, in a lot of ways, we are our own worst enemies, but we can change this. And what it takes is a resolute decision that you can do it here and that you're going to figure out a way to make it work here. And it's becoming more attractive to manufacture in the U.S. because it's a different worker environment. Workers are more anxious to work, so there's a little less of that worker management discord that was a big part of the 70s and 80s.
We need to change the tax structure. We need to give people incentives to bring jobs back here. We need to do a lot. We can do a lot of tort reform. We can do a lot of things to make business easier here, but we need smart trade policy, and it's going to take a political leader who cuts through the left-right nonsense and speaks right to the people on this, because so far the establishment in both parties, they seem to agree on all these trade deals, and in the end it ends up hurting American manufacturing. Wayne, we really appreciate your story, your commitment to the American worker, president and owner of Worksman Cycles. And again, I've seen those cycles. They're heavy-duty, well-made, made in America, and I am so proud that you're out there doing this day to day, and I know your workers are so proud and so thankful for their jobs. Thank you so much, Wayne.
Yes, one last thing, Laura. I just want to tell you also that we're now supporting the Wounded Warrior Project with a line of Wounded Warrior bicycles.
Oh.
So, we're trying to do the right things here, and we appreciate you letting us on the air and telling our story.
Oh, so great. Oh, I love that. Well, we're big partners with Wounded Warrior as well, so thank you so much. Wayne Sosin on The Laura Ingraham Show.
The Laura Ingraham Show.